So, hi Andrew and Dennis. Thanks for agreeing to take part in this research. Sharing your experience is very valuable to us. You may refuse to answer any particular question or give a don't know response to any question. You may change your mind about participation at any time. Please note the interview will be audio recorded and subsequently transcribed. Only aggregated data will be supported by unattributed examples will be reported in the final version of this research. Are you happy to proceed?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll just recap, just to give you a little bit of recap on this. It's okay to ask questions for clarification or whatever, because some of the terminology I'm using, we just may need to clarify, that's all. So the question the research project is trying to address is what relevance does the standard identification and generic classification of a sterile medical device have on the decision making and deployment of products in the context of humanitarian aid? The selected interviewees are positioned within the supply chain or have expertise in the classification or categorization of items through standards or have direct experience in the humanitarian setting. In order to answer the research question, we will be asked for your perspective on 3 sub-questions, which we will go through. Not all questions need a response. Don't know, not relevant, are all perfectly acceptable responses. In fact, sometimes it's better to have that response than to just think it differently. So it's all good stuff. And there'll be, after the 3 questions, there'll be an opportunity for any general commentary that you feel is outside the scope of the questions, but you feel could be relevant. So, having said all of that, are you okay to proceed with question 1?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, question 1. What do you see as the drivers for a manufacturer engaging in humanitarian aid activities?
Well, I think overall, and again, I am not one of the individuals directly involved with our humanitarian efforts, but it fits in, I think, being a good corporate citizen and doing the right thing. And I know BD has a fairly extensive program. I'm not involved in it, but a fairly extensive program to make sure that we are doing our part. We do manufacture some supplies that are very helpful in a humanitarian setting, and I know we have efforts dedicated to that, and I am trying to seek participation from those that are directly involved in it. And there are individuals that work directly in the humanitarian efforts, and I'm not one of them, but we do have a program in that area.
Okay.
Just for my background, is this really a discussion on marketing, and it's really to drive the efficiency, and I think if it is, then no matter who is the product going to, I think we have an interest in BD to drive efficiencies to any of our customers, whether it's a commercial customer in the States or a foreign humanitarian aid type organization. And we would want to drive not only the efficiencies within our organization, but help facilitate their efforts in their properly tracking our product and officially handling our products.
Okay, so just a couple of nudges along that, and it possibly comes into what you were just saying there. How do you think competition has an impact in this space?
I don't know if this is really about competition. I think in many instances there simply are donations made. In some instances, right, when you look at disaster aid and those sorts of things, I don't think it's about competition. I think it's about pitching in and making donations to the right sorts of organizations and trying to make sure there's, the humanitarian effort gets its full benefit, that the products don't expire somewhere or don't get lost in transit or whatever else. But I don't think competition really plays a role in it.
It falls into the whole motto, helping healthy people live healthy lives.
Right.
That's our mission. That's the mission of BD, and that extends beyond the
Okay. So with that, just exploring that same question, I guess, through the other lens, is how do you think collaboration has impact?
Collaboration with other device manufacturers, or do you mean collaboration with the humanitarian company?
It's an open question. You can whatever sparks a response from you. Either or both.
Well, I guess, when trying to, and I'm thinking of some of the initiatives we've done. Some of them are around, for example, for vaccines, and I know BD has, in some instances, contributed employees as volunteers to go help with this. If it's for vaccines, immunizations, tetanus, and some other things that we've worked on over the years. I think it's more about collaborating with that organization and trying to make sure that if you are making donations, that products get used correctly and care is given, as you'd hope.
Okay.
This is an area, DC regularly sends people on mission. Unfortunately, I don't really know a lot about, personally, about the whole program, but I have a strong suspicion that it does tie into the level of collaboration.
Okay, and so overall, how do you think decisions? You may have covered this anyway. Actually, how do you think the decisions that a manufacturer makes affects the whole humanitarian supply chain?
Well,
I think it's a matter of, I think the biggest impact we have is on the types of products, because sometimes sometimes the products that are good in third world nations are different than what could be easily deployed within a normal hospital setting in the U.S. So, that's really on the product side. I see some of our specialty products where, even when some of these missions, when I read about them, they have very limited. The facilities are, very crude, and they're talking about they don't have power all day long. Some of them may have solar cells, and they only have power for a certain number of hours during certain hours. I think that plays a role in the manufacturing of what those organizations can do. I guess the other part is really the accessibility to the product.
we've also customized some products. They work better in that market.
That's
right. We've taken them and we have customized them so that they work better in some of those markets outside the U.S. where you just different market needs.
Okay.
And I don't think there's any profit in it. I don't think that's really a motive. I think it's just how you make it so that it actually works in that environment. Right? It's being donated in many instances, so
Okay.
it's not about profitability. It's about humanitarian.
It's low cost.
Okay.
It's portable. It's durable. Might not have all the features that they would normally expect in the U.S.
Okay.
Established, but it's going to meet their needs.
Okay. So, changing gears somewhat for the main question number 2 here. What impact do you think standards for identification of products for delivery of humanitarian aid has?
Well, in theory, I think it's the same as what we look at, whether it be a hospital in the U.S. or Europe or anywhere else in more developed countries, that in theory, if you use data standards, then it gives them the ability to understand what product has been delivered to them, for them to accurately track it, to make sure they're not using expired or recalled products, not have expired vaccines, right? All of that. So I think that data standards deliver the same potential as what we would look at in the developed world.
So,
I agree.